We are entering the era of AI content inflation. In 26, content is cheap and infinite, which means the human signal, your actual presence, is the most expensive and valuable asset in your business. Creating, reorganize, creating, reorganize, creating, reorganize, creating, reorganize. Dear Creating Reorganizer, welcome back to episode 18 of the Creating Reorganize show. If you are hungry for strategies to market and sell your service or product 24/7, 365 without burnout, this is for you. I'm so incredibly grateful to have you here in my extended lecture hall. I'm your host, Professor Dr. Eleonore Soei-Winkels. For those of you just joining the community, I'm a former IT strategy consultant turned part-time professor for industrial and occupational psychology. I'm a business owner, a mom of 2 energetic school kids, and the podcaster for both this show and the Postdoc Transformation show. So trust me, I teach you Creating Reorganized from lived experience. Today we're tackling a seductive trap that is actually promoted by my favorite video and podcast editor, Descript. And don't get me wrong, I think there is a use case for that. It's the siren song of the AI avatar. And you've seen the posts on Threads. I don't ever want to go on camera again. It's just not for me. I hate audio podcasts going into video and whatever. So it's intimidating. I can't engage with the camera. My hair and makeup is horrible. Also, I just want to listen to podcasts. And then you also see ads screaming, create 100 videos in 10 minutes with your digital twin. I can honestly see many use cases for an AI avatar in HR departments, learning development, or even like in my experience, IT departments who want to train their colleagues, the workforce, to use a new software or a new product. It really is merely about the standardized usage of must-be-implemented corporate resources. That's not about building the know, like, and trust factor, like in our case as a business owner, right? We want to find new leads and nurture them, right? So I can totally relate as a business owner, a busy one who's trying to balance university lectures, client calls, and making sure the kids have their gym kits and lunchboxes ready. This sounds like a dream. And you could think, well, perfect. I can be invisible and still be everywhere. I can hide my messy desk, my messy office, my accent, my tired eyes between a perfect pixel pure robot. I'm going to put my professor hat on and also my IT strategist armor, so to speak, to tell you why that dream is actually a high-risk gamble with your return on invest. We are entering the era of AI content inflation. In 26, content is cheap and infinite, which means the human signal, your actual presence, is the most expensive and valuable asset in your business. So, are you feeling invisible on LinkedIn? Are your leads ghosting your sales funnel despite your high volume of content? If so, maybe you aren't suffering from lack of content. Instead, you're suffering from lack of connection. And if so, today we're going to deep dive into the return on invest of human connection. We're going to talk about why your face, yes, your real face, as it is the only thing that can cut through the noise. So let's do Creating Reorganized. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about where I come from, because my identity is also my strategy. I was born right here in Germany, and my parents are Chinese Indonesian immigrants, and I became a German citizen at the age of 2. So when you hear my voice, you probably hear a German accent. But obviously, the way I look, you could also expect Asian behavior. And for a long time in my early career, I was self-conscious about that. I thought to be a global strategist, I need to sound like a BBC newsreader. but I was wrong. So my accent, my heritage, and my unique perspectives are exactly what make me un-AIable, right? So I know that people in IT who knew me would think that I'm exotic for all kinds of reasons. And that makes my brand as well, right? So think back to the year of 2000, so 26 years ago. I was the best high school student in my year. Well, I am Asian, not Bayesian, right? So that joke is not a joke when you have a tiger mom. And I went on to become a psychologist, eventually coding my own experiments during my PhD in neuroscience at the International Graduate School of Neuroscience in Bochum, Germany. And I was literally coding the scripts that measured human brain activity in patients and also in healthy control subjects. I won junior researcher awards and merit-based international scholarships as well. So I was a scientist through and through in every sense of the word. But then, 1 month after my PhD graduation in 2008, I did something crazy. I leaped into the corporate world as an IT analyst at Aldi South. And yes, that's the grocery discounter giant that runs also Trader Joe's in the US. I'm familiar with that. I moved from the lab to the server room. I've got a lot of funny stories, and eventually to Accenture as an IT strategy consultant. So why am I sharing these bits of pieces? Maybe they seem unconnected, but in my experience of high-level IT strategy consulting, we always talked about differentiation and the competitive advantage. And that is something that every business owner needs to know as well. So if every business owner uses the same avatar tools like YouTube or whatever, then the cost of competition goes to zero, and so does the profit. So when I started my own first podcast, Postdoc Transformation Show, it was my marketing showroom for my career coaching at graduate schools. And I realized that my audience, I call them postdoc transformers, didn't want a generic career coach avatar. They wanted my point of view as the professor who had been in the trenches of neuroscience and also the boardrooms of Accenture's clients. They wanted to see my eyes lit up when I talk about the pivot or the prison suit or whatever. So they wanted to hear the passion in my voice. And if I had used an AI avatar, I would have been a commodity. So by showing up as my real self, I became an inspiring and relatable choice. And in episode 1, we talked about why founders need a video podcast to build trust. So in 26, trust is a psychological heuristic, a mental shortcut. When a client sees your face, their brain does a threat versus ally check, right? So an AI avatar, no matter how good, often fails this check at a subconscious level. We call this the uncanny valley. So when something looks almost human but is missing the soul, our brains trigger a distrust signal. For a small business owner, distrust is the ultimate return on investment killer. We don't want to be almost human. We want to be un-AIably us. Let's pause for a moment to respect those who sponsor this valuable episode. Thanking our sponsors for the financial support, we are happy to return to a valuable episode. So for a small business owner, distrust is the ultimate return on investment killer. We don't want to be almost human. We want to be un-AIably us. Creating reorganizers, let's grab your notebooks. We're going to the lecture hall and sit down. So to understand why your video podcast is a sales engine, we have to look at Horton and Wald's theory of parasocial interaction. So back in the 50s, these researchers were looking at how people interacted with television and radio personas, celebrities, if you like, right? So they discovered that audiences develop a one-sided intimacy with media people. Even though I'm talking to the camera in my home office, you're not here, right? But you are listening in your car and while cooking dinner, on your treadmill, I don't know. And your brain processes my voice in your earbuds as a social encounter. You chose to listen to me, and your brain processes my thoughts. And you get to think whatever you want to think based on my prompts. So Horton and Wohl identify 3 key elements that make this work. And I want you to see how your video podcast would hit every one of them. All right? So number 1, the persona's direct address. When I look into the lens and say, dear Creating Reorganize, I'm practicing direct address. I'm looking you in the eye, even though you're not here with me. And research shows that this creates the illusion of a face-to-face relationship. An AI avatar can look in the camera but still lacks these micro expressions. When you look closely into my face, I don't wear makeup at all. The tiny crinkles around my eyes signify genuine human connection and emotion. As a psychologist, I can only say emotions are the glue for learning, and you need to learn about a product before you can understand that you want this product and you want to buy this project. So this is why selling is absolutely emotional. Your audience is subconsciously scanning for those micro expressions to decide whether you are or not a person of integrity, a person from whom I want to buy something, right? Okay, so number 2 is continuity and reliability. Parasocial bonds are built over. Horton and Wohl found out that the persona becomes a reliable part of the audience's routine. And this is why I host on Podbean. It ensures that every week, without fail, I am in your ears and on your screens, if you like. So if I would be using an AI avatar that looks different every time the software updates or sounds different, because the sound generation, the image generation breaks up or whatever, that could break the continuity. You become a stranger again every week. So when you show up instead, just as you are, your audience feels that they are meeting an old friend. And this is the trust shortcut we discussed also in episode 14, as linked in the show notes. And then number 3, the shared world. So in a video podcast, you share your environment. I invite you to be home with me, and you allow me to be part of your day, your workplace, maybe also in your home. So maybe you also hear me talking about picking up my kids and whatever. So this creates a shared world between us. Horton and Wohl call this conversational intimacy. You are letting the lead into your life, a selected window in your life, right? So in 26, AI content is really cheap signal. Anyone can prompt a bot to make a video. So it has low credibility. But recording a video podcast, showing your face, sharing your real expertise, fixing your ums and ahs in Descript while keeping your authentic you, and distributing it via Podbean, for example, that is a costly signal. It shows the market. I am invested. I am a real expert with a real reputation to protect. And this is why mass communication via a business promotion video podcast works to attract and nurture leads. You aren't just marketing. You are signaling your premium status. You are a podcaster. You have shown that you can deliver results week by week, season by season. You're building a parasocial bond that turns a lead into a fan because you are showing a commitment to a communication in 2 ways. So you're not just talking into a void, but instead you are also asking for feedback and also answering questions. So once they have become your fan, they are also willing to pay for your services. And that is the ultimate return on invest. Okay, now let's ground this in a real world example. Let's talk about a real estate agent and manager. So we're just talking back and forth, a couple of ideas, and I want to share them with you so that you can see how it's like working with me, okay? So we'll call her Sarah. And Sarah manages high-end properties in Düsseldorf, the city where I also teach, for the many expatriate managers and their families, and sells investment apartments. So she is also a busy mom. And Sarah could use AI to generate videos of her listings. It's efficient, of course. But let's look at how she could use instead the return on investment of human connection and the Horton and Wool framework to build a supply chain of success, which we also detailed in episode 13. So step 1, the attraction podcast. The podcast should serve as an attractor. The persona Sarah could host a video podcast, and instead of just showing photos, she could stand on the balcony of a penthouse in Little Tokyo nearby the Düsseldorf main train station, which she actually lists also in her portfolio, and talk about the psychology of the neighborhood gentrification and the appeal of Japanese flair. While standing on the balcony, it's windy, her hair is moving in the wind, she could share a story about a client she helped last week. And the theory is we would establish her persona. The viewer would think Sarah is a real person who knows the Düsseldorf market. And this way, the parasocial bonding begins. Step 2 is the nurture hub. Okay, now we have to have conversational intimacy. In our show notes, Sarah could use Type 4, which is our lead generator of choice, to offer a property return on invest calculator. But it's not just a form. It includes a short-form video blog of Sarah saying, hey, before you fill this out, remember that a home isn't just an asset. It's where your family grows. Tell me your goals. And that audio can be a few seconds long only, clipped out from her long-form video podcast episode. And in her B-roll, that's the video backdrop that is playing in the back while you listen to the voice, for example. That should align with Sarah's business. So we could have her strolling in Little Tokyo, maybe looking at the menu of Takumi Düsseldorf, or you could see in the background a Japanese bookstore with kawaii-style paper products or whatever. So according to the theory, she is using the direct address from Horton and Wool to make the technology of a video podcast feel human. The viewer, the lead, does not feel like they're in a database. They feel like they are in a two-way conversation with Sarah, and best of all, the short-form video conveys Sarah's voice, a reference to her video podcast, and visually she's telling the viewer's eyes where she buys and sells properties for leads who can afford to spend money in the expat high-salary community of Düsseldorf, Germany. Before we continue, we want to appreciate those who financed this valuable episode for you. Thanking our advertisers for their financial support, we are happy to return to our inspiring episode. Step 2 is the Nurture Hub, to have conversational intimacy. So now, step 3, that's the qualification machine. We want to scale the effort. The data from Typeform could flow into ActiveCampaign, our AI-boosted customer relationship management tool of choice. And can you see a pattern here? I always use Typeform and ActiveCampaign in tandem, right? So if a lead would indicate by selecting a button that they are looking for family homes, ActiveCampaign automatically puts them into a video sequence where Sarah could talk about the best schools in Düsseldorf. International School of Düsseldorf is blah, blah, blah. So that's the tech, right? She can be using active intelligence to serve the lead exactly what they might be interested in, what they need, but always with a video of her face. So she would not be working 24/7, but her persona would instead. A great B-roll location for that kind of short-form video could be a view at the International School of Düsseldorf, because that's what would be key for the expert's family, the spouses, and the kids. And hence, that would increase the value of the property as an investment. So, step 4, the conversion. And that is the trust shortcut. When the leads finally book a call, they have already had multiple parasocial interactions with Sarah. They're not going to ask her for her credentials, whether she is a listed real estate agent at all. But instead, they have seen her on Podbean, our podcast hosting and monetizing platform of choice, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Pocket Casts, etc. They have interacted with her on Typeform, and they have felt her costly premium signal. They are ready to sign, right? And no, you're asking, what's the return on investment for Sarah? Well, she would close more deals with fewer cold pitches. She would use her video podcast to climb the value ladder from stranger to expert to partner. See, this is why I create my business promotion video podcast for you. The fact that you are listening now and come back for more episodes makes me familiar, trustworthy to you, and I can share with you my expertise so that once you want to decide, you can safely decide on your terms if and when to book me for your own business promotion video podcast. So if Sarah or I even had used an AI avatar, that will be just another real estate agent, another podcaster who tries to help you with a nice website. With her real face, she would be the obvious choice. We already talked about that in episode 14. We'll link to that in the show notes. Okay, so now let's talk about how we keep this machine running without you burning out. Okay, so remember, I'm a part-time professor and I'm a mom. I don't have time for a manual if I can do the machine style, all right? So we use technology to amplify the human, not replacing it. So let's talk about Podbean. This is your main video podcast stage for MP4 video. Okay, so that quietly distributes your video podcast to all major podcast players. Trust me, to this date, the last 3 years, not a single time I had an outage of Podbean. It just goes on and on and on quietly its way, right? I host my 2 shows, Creating Reorganized and Post-Op Transformation, on Podbean because I need my persona to be well available 24/7, 365 across all social media platforms and all podcast players. And the statistical data, which we analyze meticulously, as you saw in season 2 wrap up, tells me exactly which human moments are resonating. Podbean's new AI-boosted search engine optimization features help my human signal get discovered by people who are searching for marketing ROI. Then we can talk about how professional you want to sound. And also look, and there really is no wiggle room here, right? This is where we fix the messy without losing the real. I mean, no one of my clients is a born actor. We are just business people who want to market and sell. Using video and audio in a polished way can help the professional halo effect, right? So I love Descript because I can now edit my video like a text document. And if I make a mistake or my German accent, makes the word a little bit muddy, I use their regenerate feature to fix my audio or video even and change what I said. So suddenly my AI voice, my clone says a new word without re-recording. So it's the no edit hack for editing, right? And we'll explore that more in depth in episode 19. But basically, it saves me hours of friction incidents and a hint to episode 17 and ensures that you get a high-quality professor-level episode. Now, I have to say, I use that only for single words and, sometimes a little bit off in the prosody, but it's great to have the option, and often, perfection would be re-recording that. But then again, by the time I catch it, I'm probably in my jammies a couple of months down the road. So I might have gained weight or lost weight. I don't know. But essentially, it's hard to, get a clean transition anyway. So that's a major time sucker to ramp up in either way. So I value the word fix, which is, again, maybe a little bit off in the prosody, but it's better than re-recording within the same clothes and lighting. Let's pause quickly to appreciate those who sponsor this valuable episode. After this quick appreciation of our sponsors, we are now back in our insightful episode. I value the word fix, which is maybe a little bit off in the prosody, but it's better than re-recording. So here's my pro tip. Whenever I hear myself not getting my point across the way I wish, I just stop and repeat my previous sentences. And then in the editing phase, Descript's AI editor, which they call Underlord, I don't know why, will even stitch the best sequences of that paragraph in the text editor. So you will then see crossed out sentences or half sentences that would be edited out if you accept. So to be honest, there was a learning curve, absolutely. But since a couple of episodes, I would say, the initial AI-boosted distinction by Descript is really good. And after I have trained Descript in multiple solo episodes, that was also another reason for going solo. Nowadays, I just accept all AI edits and then listen like a listener before I jump into odd-sounding transitions. But, that's almost discardable. So I would even say I usually don't miss anything of what I said in the recording, especially when it's months or week away, and what was crossed out by Descript by its AI feature added for clarity. Okay, now over to Metricool. As a strategist, I need to see the social return on invest, right? So at the end of the day, I still think that it's not AI that buys my services. It's a human behind that, a business owner. So Metricool allows me to look at my Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and whatever, also my website from a bird's eye view. It proves that my video clips, where you see me talking, perform 3 times better than AI-generated graphic with stock images from Canva. And I do test that as well, right? So data doesn't lie. People want the human connection. And my retention rates in my podcast statistics and my website actions like clicks on links, on buttons, filled out forms are better with my own authentic content. Now we can talk about earning money by teaching. Okay, so that could be Thinkific. This is where you turn trusts into recurring revenue. So once you have built the parasocial bond on your podcast, your audience will want to learn more of you. And that is why I host my digital offers as e-courses on Thinkific, because it's a professional white label environment that honors the premium brand I have built on camera. In an e-course, my students also get to ask questions, and they can have a community of accountability and membership. Being part of a group on the same learning journey sometimes makes the difference. And again, the perfect tandem for here is ActiveCampaign and Typeform. This is my quiet sales machine, all right? So Typeform captures the human nuance of our leads, like the return on invest calculator by Sarah, or maybe more relevant to you, our creating reorganized business readiness quiz as linked in the show notes. And ActiveCampaign ensures that your persona continues the conversation automatically. It's like having an IT strategy consultant, me, working in your business while you are spending your time according to what? Your vision of life. Exactly. I know that's a lot. And maybe you're listening and saying, this sounds amazing, but I don't have an IT strategy background and I'm terrified of the tech. And this is exactly why I have launched the Creating Reorganized podcasting service. We are a premium white label done-for-you solution. We have realized that for an established business owner, for a professor, your time is better spent being the persona, the human expert, than being the editor. So maybe you want to sell more books or whatever. Then we can discuss and show how the book makes others feel, how they inspire other thoughts, etc. And then we take your raw recordings and apply my standard operating procedures. So we handle the descript edits, the Podbean distribution, the metrical scheduling, and the typeform lead generation. So we are essentially building the engine, and you just provide the human soul. And because of my leading schedule as a professor, we have very few exclusive spots available, open only for business owners who want to scale their personal brand without marketing burnout we discussed in episode 15. So if you want a human in the lead system that actually drives your return on invest, check out the link in the show notes to sign up for our premium Creating Reorganized podcasting service. All right, so here's your actionable prompt for today. I want you to record a behind-the-scenes video, just 60 seconds. Tell us one thing about your business that an AI could never understand and also show. Maybe it's why you care so much about your clients or a lesson you learned the hard way. Now, if you aren't ready to post that publicly, I have a safe shortcut. Sign up for my free Creating Reorganized newsletter at the link in the show notes, and once you are in my inner circle, you can actually send that video directly to me. I will guide you, I will watch it, and give you feedback on your credibility. It's a safe space to find your unAIable voice. Taken together, don't let the fear of being imperfect keep you invisible. I have a German accent, but challenge myself to speak in English to serve a global audience of creating reorganizers and postdoc transformers. I am an Indonesian descendant woman in IT, and I'm a mom. If I can build a 14K download community by being real, not only once, but even twice, I did that already with my postdoc transformation show, which is now my showroom for Creating Reorganized, in the last 3 years, as someone over 40 years old, not native to social media, so can you, right? So your audience is not looking for a robot. They are looking for you. All right. Thank you for joining me in this extended lecture hall session. Remember, the return of investment of human connection is not just a metric. It's the legacy that you are building for the next generation. Check out episode 13 to learn more about your supply chain of success, and episode 4, which is quite important if you need seasonal strategies to avoid pod fade. And all my affiliate links to Descript, Podbean, Thinkific, ActiveCampaign, Typeform, and Metricool are in the show notes. Using them helps me to keep this show free for you while I enjoy my pocket times with my family. And I'll see you in episode 19, where we talk about the no-edit editing hack for multiple languages. All right, until then, happy creating reorganized according to what? Your vision of life. Exactly. So I'm off to pick up my kids now, and I will let Descript edit my rough cut. So that's creating reorganized according to my vision of life. Do you want to start your own side business as a runway for your better future? Then you will benefit from our free business readiness quiz as linked in the show notes. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe, share it with your business friends, and leave a review on your favorite podcast player. Your feedback helps me as a small business owner to serve more small business owners for free, so thank you. I'm your host, Professor Dr. Eleonore Soei-Winkels, and now I wish you a happy creating reorganized according to your vision of life. Create